Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Hello Goddess podcast. I am your host, Mandy Déa. If you don't know me, I am a Reiki practitioner and certified naturopath and a lover of everything spirituality, wellness, and personal development. So if this is something that you love as well, you've tuned into the right show. So I'm so sorry I was MIA for a couple of weeks, even months. I was working on other projects. I'm also a dance teacher for kids, and I also did a retreat a couple days ago, actually. But yeah, I was meditating on trying to find out what I should talk about today in the episode, and what came to mind is the concept of beginner's mind. So the concept of beginner's mind is from Zen philosophy. So you probably know this if you listen to my podcast, but I'm really big into I like everything about Eastern philosophy. I'm really Reiki is Japanese. And there's so much about India that intrigues me, their philosophy there as well with yoga. So when I stumbled upon this concept, I was like, wow, it really clicked for me because it's something that I already was doing unconsciously, but I just love that this is part of their philosophy that they really practice. So basically, beginner's mind is approaching life as though you are a beginner, no matter how advanced you are. So I'm going to say that again. Approaching life as if you are a beginner, no matter how advanced you are. So I think this is such a beautiful philosophy, such a beautiful approach to living your life, because you're bringing your energy back to childlike wonder. So think of a child who sees the world with fresh eyes. They're not judging, they're not assuming, they just are. And also, when you're in that state of mind, of beginner's mind, you're more likely to learn, because when you think that you know a lot about a certain topic, that's when you start to close yourself off from learning more or from seeing things from a different perspective. So yeah, I'm going to talk about how beginner's mind can be tied into so many different things in your life and how it can benefit you just in general to be having that attitude of just seeing things with a fresh set of eyes. So like I was saying, beginner's mind stems from Zen philosophy, and in Japanese they call it Shoshin. And basically it's just this powerful reminder that in our busy lives, no matter how much we think we know, doesn't matter if you're an expert on something or really well versed in something, there's always space to return to curiosity, openness, and wonder. Maybe you experienced this too when you try something new, like a new hobby, or you're going to a new place, like you're traveling to a new place, or you're trying this practice, like this new spiritual practice, this new wellness practice, or even you're meeting someone for the first time. That experience, in that state, you are in a state of curiosity, openness, and presence. That just comes natural to you when you are experiencing something for the first time. The practice of beginner's mind is to apply that state to everything. Because when you have a beginner's mind, you are more likely to see things clearer. What happens is, as we grow older, we get used to things. We think we know something. And sometimes when we're so certain about something, we end up not seeing the whole picture. We have blind spots, especially when you become an expert in something, because you're so self-assured that you know what you know, that you are less likely to see the whole picture from all angles. And so beginner's mind is just a reminder to bring yourself back to the state of, this is completely new to me. Even though I already know this, I could try to see it from a different perspective. Maybe there's more to learn. Another concept that I really like, that is really interesting to me, is hedonic adaptation. Other people call it hedonistic or hedonic adaptation, but basically it's a concept in psychology that your brain, like when you get something new in your life, whether it's like a car or like a job opportunity or like a new house or whatever it may be, in the beginning you're so excited, like you feel all this joy and happiness about what you got, but then over time it kind of tapers off all the way to like either contentment or even maybe indifference. And that's just like something that the brain evolved into, so that we're not, always super stimulated. But when you apply beginner's mind, and you see things from a fresh perspective, it can bring up that joy back to a place where you're grateful and happy about the things that you have. And because people don't realize how lucky we are. We have so much in our lives. We have like so many things to be grateful for. And so you can even do the other day I listened to a podcast and she said this, and I thought it was so interesting. She said, pretend you're an alien right now that's coming to Earth and you're showing them your life. Like you're showing them every single thing that you do every day. Like you're showing them your job, you're showing them your kids, you're showing them your parents and all your hobbies and the books you like to read and the activities you like to do after work and what kind of food you like. And they're going to be so amazed by all of these things because that's new to them. And so that's kind of like the idea of beginner's mind. Like it's okay to pretend to see things like it's the first time you see it, to have that sense of wonder, because in reality, it's so magical that we have this experience of life. And that's why it's so powerful to bring yourself back to that childlike wonder in your life. Because as children, we are like sponges. Like we're so curious. We want to learn everything. We know we're beginners because we're literally children. Like we're just getting into life. And that's how we learn so quick. And what happens as we get older, we kind of get used to things. Like we're doing the same thing over and over every single day, or we're doing a certain job and we become experts in certain topics and whatnot, and then we kind of get into a rut because we think that that's just, there's nothing else to it, this is what I am, this is what I do. But when you incorporate beginner's mind, you start to see things from a different perspective. It's kind of like the image of two people on a beach and the person is riding a 6 in front of them, and the person the other side is like, oh, you rode a 9. And then the first person's like, no, this is a 6. Come and see things from my perspective. From the other person's perspective, it was a 9. And so it's important to be able to be flexible in our ability to see things from another point of view. I think that is one of the most powerful signs of intelligence. It's even a form of empathy to be able to see things from other people's point of view, because there's so many ways of seeing one thing. So I'm going to talk about different ways that you can incorporate the idea of beginner's mind into your day-to-day life. So the first one I have for you guys is curiosity over certainty. Like I was saying, instead of saying, I know how this goes, I know how to do this, ask yourself, okay, like, what can I learn here? Maybe I know a lot about this topic, but what can I learn more about this? Another one is wonder in the ordinary. Like I was saying, finding that childlike awe in simple moments, like you're drinking tea or you're going for a walk and looking at all the beautiful leaves and the sun, how it feels on your skin. And that even ties into the idea of mindfulness, of being present in your body. And instead of being like, okay, just another regular walk outside, try to see if you can notice something new in your walk, something that wasn't there last time. Maybe it's a tree that you didn't notice the first time around, or maybe you didn't even notice there was a trail going into the woods that you don't even take ever because you're just walking usually and thinking about your day. Another thing that's really, really powerful about Shoshin, beginner's mind, is humility. This is probably one of the most important part of beginner's mind, is to have humility and openness. So what happens is that sometimes we develop certain skills in life, certain abilities, like it could be literally anything. You get this you get to this point where you feel like you're really, really good at something, which is okay, and it's good to have confidence. But you want to bring back a little bit of humility in that moment, because as soon as you think that you have all the answers, that's when you close yourself off from learning more. If you want to keep moving forward and learning and expanding in your craft, you have to keep having humility and openness. You might even get to a point at some point in your life where you become a teacher in something. It doesn't have to be like a traditional position, but maybe you're teaching something. And then you have a student that teaches you. You have a student in front of you and you're teaching them, and then they have a question or they have a comment. And in that moment, they're teaching you. So it's important in that moment to have humility and openness and tell yourself like, wow, this was really a beautiful learning experience for me as a teacher. Another really cool aspect of Shoshin Beginner's Mind is playfulness and creativity. So again, bringing it back to when you're a child and you're literally creating games out of thin air, or you're drawing outside the lines and coloring outside the lines, and you're doing all these things. And as we get older, we kind of restrict ourselves, like, no, don't do this, like people are gonna think you're weird or whatever it may be. Beginner's mind is allowing yourself to experiment and explore in your life and do fun things without that fear of being wrong or judged, or you come back to that state of, okay, I'm doing this for me, like this is something that I really enjoy, and that's enough. I'll be honest, like I always had that sense of beginner's mind for everything, in the sense that I always allow myself to try new things, even though I'm not that great at it. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, because they're hoping to be an expert right off the bat, and that's just not realistic. Things take time to develop. And like I was saying, like even if you're really, really advanced at something, there's always room to grow. So it's totally fine to be a beginner, like literally a beginner at something, and trying something new. There's so many things I can think about, like even just this podcast. Like naturally, if you know me, I'm a little bit of an anxious person, and sometimes I'm a little awkward. So it kind of surprised me that I started this podcast, but honestly, I really, really wanted to, and I thought to myself, why not? And I remember I went to this meditation class, and the meditation teacher said something so powerful in the class at the time before I did this podcast. And they said, sometimes you just have to give yourself permission to suck at something. And I thought that was so funny. But it's also true. Like, we're so afraid of being judged. We're so afraid of not being good at something that we don't even try to begin. And so beginner's mind is allowing yourself also to be a beginner, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to start at something and not be the greatest. Another thing too that's really powerful when it comes to beginner's mind is applying it to relationships. So what happens is that sometimes we have assumptions about people. Whether it's our own assumptions, when we see someone, we have an assumption, we have maybe a judgment towards them. We're kind of like already made up our mind about the person. But when you have beginner's mind, it's approaching people without judgments or assumptions. Approaching people as though they literally popped out of thin air and you want to get to know them. And I know like this is going to be a little bit more woo-woo, but one thing that really helps me build a lot of friendships and connections in life is the concept of unity. So basically the concept that we're all one, we're all connected. And when we treat someone poorly, essentially it's like we're treating ourselves poorly. It's the idea that the other person is you in a different body. And I know that's kind of like far-fetched, but when you look at all major religions, They really all have that golden rule: treat others the way that you would want to be treated. And I think that's such a sound philosophy. If you have that in your life, if you integrate that in your life, you're going to see that it's a lot easier to make friends, or a lot easier to have connections with other people when you have the energy of empathy and love and compassion for others. So yeah, beginner's mind is all about like broadening your perspective. And I'll say, I think it's difficult when the ego gets into it, because the ego is about how you feel about yourself and things that you feel are part of your identity. And when you feel like something is like, I know a lot about that thing, it's really hard to put that ego aside and be like, okay, maybe there's room to learn here. Maybe there's other things that I could be integrating into this, or other ways of seeing the same thing that I'm doing right now. So it feels a little bit uncomfortable in the moment when you're allowing yourself to go back to beginner's mind. It is a little bit uncomfortable, but it pays off, because you will learn more. You will see things differently, and it will expand what you already have. It has no other way to do it. Like beginner's mind, it always helps. So I'm going to share a couple of ideas that you can do in your life right now to cultivate beginner's mind. So the first thing that I have is think about something that you are really good at. Allow yourself to go back to the basics, the fundamentals of the things that you know a lot about, you might be even forgetting. So it's really important to go back to that. Another thing that you can do that's really easy is meditation. So when you're doing meditation, you're going to notice thoughts. It's unless you're a monk that has been practicing for 20 years, you're going to have thoughts. And that's okay. So when you practice beginner's mind with meditation, you're allowing yourself to have the thoughts, and you become curious about the thoughts. Just become curious without labeling or judging your thoughts. Another exercise that you can do is first time exercise. You would do something as though it's the first time you ever did it. You would eat something, for example. If you're having like vanilla ice cream, try to eat the ice cream and savor it and really taste all the flavor in the ice cream and the texture and the coldness of it, as though it's the first time in your life that you ever had ice cream. That really enhances the experience, and maybe you will even find that it's better, like the ice cream becomes better. Or even listening. Sometimes it's like listening to a song as though it's the first time, or listening to your friend talk to you as though it's the first time they ever talked to you. Or anything that you do on a daily basis, pretend it's the first time. Another thing that you can do that really helps cultivate beginner's mind is journaling. What you can do is think about a situation in your life that you feel is negative. It's something that you're trying to work on. It's something that you're struggling with. It can be big or small. You write it down in your journal, and then after that you write, what am I assuming about this situation? That is a tendency that people have. Like, we jump to conclusions, we make assumptions about situations. But when you have beginner's mind, you bring it back. Like, what am I assuming about this? And what is the truth about the situation that I know? What are the facts? Get back to the facts, and then write that. Like, what do I actually know? What am I assuming? What am I projecting? What if I saw this with fresh eyes? Like, if I were to tell this situation to a therapist, like, what do you think they would tell you? It's just trying to like work that situation in your mind and see how you can play around with it and use beginner's mind to get the solution that you're looking for. And the last advice that I have is spend more time with children. Children have that natural energy of curiosity, and they naturally embody the beginner's mind. And sometimes when you're with children, I find that it's really humbling, because they'll ask you a question about something that you know, but they don't. And when they ask you, you have to figure out how to explain it so that they can understand it. And it just reminds me of that quote by Einstein, who he said that if you can't explain something simply, you don't really understand it enough. So yeah, just spend time with children because they bring you back to that state of wonder, curiosity, and simplicity that beginner's mind offers. So yeah, beginner's mind is really an invitation to live more fully in the present moment. When we open ourselves up to curiosity, humility, and wonder, we not only see life differently, we feel life more deeply. So maybe today, just pick one thing that you'll approach with a beginner's mind. It can be your morning coffee, a conversation with a loved one, or even just like something simple as the way you breathe. Let yourself be surprised by something. Thank you so much for joining me today, Goddess. And remember that each moment in your life is a chance to begin again. Sending you so much love, so much light, and healing energy. Bye.